Good morning. It is stinking wet outside. It's a horrible day. I don't want to be out there, and I'm sure lots of you flower farmers don't either. So I'm doing some admin. I'm really slowly plugging through it, and I don't love it. But I'm also about to go to the post office with another couple of flower farmers planners, which is very exciting. It's exciting for a couple of reasons. One of those is that I'm sending them out. Another is that we have one box left. I'm really proud of this. So 14 boxes came. We have one box left, and it has 14 in it. And I'd quite like to see them all sold. So I thought I would give you a whistle-stop tour of the Flower Farmer's Planner as it looks and its structure and how it works. You don't have to use it how I use it. And I think lots of people will pick and choose, and I think that's really good. And it's given you flexibility and space and prompts to really think about what's going in it and the sorts of information that you need to be able to grow your business, because that's what the Flower Farmer's Planner is there. It's to collate that information and give you your kind of research tool, to give you the knowledge that you need to change your growing, to enhance your numbers, to fill your gaps, and to market to your customers based on what you do. Okay, so I'm going to give you a tour of it. It might take a while, like there are 300 pages in it, but I really want to talk you through how it's structured and why, and then you can choose how you use it when you've got your own copy. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I thought I'd give you a tour of the Flower Farmer's Planner. So that's what we're going to do this morning. I'm super proud of this. I'm super proud of it because I thought it was necessary, and now people who need it are using it and saying that it's brilliant and it's perfect. And those sort of messages coming into my inbox have really just given me some encouragement to share it more. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is the Flower Farmer's Planner. It's out now. I know it says 2023, but we are in week 2, and most of us are only just back to work. So obvious things first, name it and label it. There's a few important dates, and I think for you, your key areas to fill in are about your thrust dates and when you want your season to start and finish. Right at the beginning of this, I've put a financial planner, and the reason I've done that is because most of us think about growing flowers as a hobby when we start, but very quickly it turns into the realization that this is a potential business that can support you and your family. So there's some real opportunities to reflect on what you spend and how much of that you want your flower farm to cover. So then we go into your flower farming year. In the front of every section, there are some prompts, and it's really important to just bear them as prompts and use them to help you guide things. And then there's a year planner. So this is a blank copy. It's not my copy. Mine is full of scribbles and crossings out, mainly in pencil, so I can rub it out. But whether you do it in pencil or pen isn't the point. The point is that this is right here at the front so that you can think about your year. And when you think about your year, get your holidays in now. Now we move on to kind of the season. So each season has got, or each kind of quarter of the year, so quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, has got an element for you to be able to plan in general. So the really big things you want to get done, the people that you want to be in contact with or selling to, what you want to be growing and propagating and taking cuttings of, and what you've got available. It's really important to know what you've got available so you can tell your customers about what that is right here and right now, and the sorts of things that you might be spending money on. And then our approach is to consider a big job and break it down into stages that's easier to envisage, and then break those down even more into smaller tasks. And so there is a bit of a progression through the planner as it's set up. So big jobs here that you want to achieve, breaking them down into smaller sections as you go along, and plenty of opportunity to do that, and then some notes, and then it's repeated for each section. Now, the purpose of that, moving into your weekly planner. So again, there are some prompts. There's always space for notes and just a chance to think about your diary for the month, so you've got an overview in front of you. And then into the big jobs that you want to get done that month, what you're propagating that month, and then onto your week. And the whole purpose of that is that when you think about the big jobs that you had at the beginning in your season, you can draw those into here. Now, you can mix and match. Just because this says big job doesn't mean that you can only do one thing. You might do a bit of one task, a bit of another task, and a bit of another task, and then a mixture of small steps from each of those tasks, and you're just picking them off one by one. They don't have to be related. And the more of those you can pick off, the more I find that I'm moving forward and I have a sense of momentum. So each week you've got space to write what you're doing, maybe the list that you're up to that day. And then like we're in the second week in January. So for most of us, not all of us, but for most of us, we may not have a huge amount to be cutting, but what you've got available and how many stems of it you've cut. And then thinking on the other side, I think this is probably a bigger area for most of us, what we didn't have that we wanted or what we needed more of, thinking about the wildlife, the weather, the pests, and our income. Just going back to that first point, every week we need to be thinking about how much we've earned and whether that's enough, and be looking back in future years and thinking, well, how am I going to improve on that? And the final thing that's in every week is for you to think about your field notes. So what's going on in your field? What have you noticed? Where are the weeds? Where do you need to do the most work? Which areas are feeling a bit overgrown? Where are the plants that need splitting? What have you taken photographs of and why? And then something that's going on that you want to tell your customers about. And there's a small space for that. This isn't a social media planner, but it's there to prompt you and to encourage you to think about those things that for us may feel like they are, run of the mill, but to our customers or to the people who buy from us, they might well seem a bit more interesting and a bit more enticing to understand how you are approaching your work on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so you'll notice at the top here that we've done every week in terms of Growers Week. So this week that we're on at the moment is week 2, but I've also given you a date, and that all depends on when you like to think about things. I like to think about things in Growers Weeks, but I can't really say to my customers, Growers Week 16 will have X. For them, it's much more helpful to know that that's in April. In April, I'll be able to supply tulips and ranunculus and the last of our daffodils and so on. So I've given you both because I like to work in weeks, but actually the diary date is more helpful for most people. So there's one of those for absolutely every week in the year. Now, that's all good and well, but we need to be thinking about our field, what it looks like in the space to planet as it is at the moment. And we're in January, so most of us are still thinking about lifting, weeding, moving, new bed preparation. So that's what it looks like now. There's some reflection questions for you to think about, some notes that you might want to think about as well, about your current space, how you're using it, and then more space for you to be able to replan it, to reorganize it. It's done on the dots, so it's easier to draw straight lines, but it's not a blank space, so it's easier to create your own sort of scale. And then there's some more notes at the back. Specifically though, after that, when you've got your field plan, one of the things that we all worry about, and I do it every year, even now, is not having any flowers. And that's a load of nonsense. You will have flowers. So this section here is about your permanent stock, the things that you have in the ground, be they shrubs, perennials, trees, that will give you flowers, so that you know where those things are going to give you flowers, where in the year, and then you can think about what their uses are. And you can also think about where you have gaps, based on where you can't see any ticks or crosses, or colouring it's in if that's what you've chosen to do. So the next section is about propagation. So we're all desperate to be sowing more seeds. I'm always honest. So I have done things like larkspur, stocks. What else have I done? I've done larkspur, stocks, and then perennials. So perennials that I didn't get started at the back end of last year, I've waited until the daylight hours are starting to increase. And in my experience here, with the amount of light that we have, they will be okay to get started. I'm not doing annuals. But just thinking about those, so just going back to annuals, I want kind of middle of February, when the days are just a wee bit longer, so there's enough light so they don't get leggy. Delete as appropriate. So depending on what you're sowing, there's a section for annuals, hardy annuals, biennials, and you can choose what's going in each of those, because everybody will be sowing different amounts at different times, and that's okay. This isn't about comparison. This is about your space, your field, your growing, and what you're doing. Okay, so there's a space here if you're propagating, where you got your seeds from. So if they don't do very well, next year you can look back and say, well, I'm not getting them from there again. I'll get them from such and such instead. And then the same here, so there's a few pages there and it gives you a bit of flexibility. Again, huge growers might be growing more varieties, but actually lots of them might be growing fewer varieties, but more of them. And I think that's a very sensible route for us all to be considering at the moment. But that's a conversation for a different day. There's a section for dahlias, there's a section for cuttings and propagating, and then there's more space for notes. Now, this is incredibly important in the work that we do. It's a real driver for the work that we do as flower farmers. And so sustainability and what's making us sustainable is something for us to reflect on. Now, we all talk about greenwashing. I think it's really important for us to think about whether or not we are telling the world enough about what we're doing, about all the good things that we're doing, rather than telling people about all the bad things that others are up to. Let's fill the world with positivity this year. It's 2023. We're doing amazing work. So there's a section for you to think about water, your feeding, your plants, wildlife, soil maintenance and management, your energy usage, money. And money is really important. Like, we don't talk about it as flower farmers. We're very British and we keep a stiff upper lip and we don't talk about money. But at the end of the day, we're growing flowers for sale. We are not growing flowers just to look pretty. And so our business is not sustainable if we're not earning enough money. It's that simple. I'm going to leave that topic there. But money is something that we should talk about. Collaboration, because working with others makes us more productive and also gets messages across better, and also means that we're not wasting energy trying to grow everything, but maybe in our area, some of us would grow more scabious, and others would grow more lilies, and others would grow more tulips, so that across the season, everybody's getting enough income from their specialist crops. This is a crazy idea, but we're not forcing ourselves to try and do everything all year and wearing ourselves out. Crazy, huh? Floristry. So what are we doing that is sustainable? What are we doing that could be more sustainable? Notes. Always need a space for extra notes. Okay, so the sustainability section also has a bit of encouragement, because what I'd like to see is more of us, and I am at fault here because I've written a sustainability plan, but it's not visible on our website. Why not? I need to polish it, check the grammar. I'll get Anthony to do that. But ultimately, that's something that I think we all should be showing off, all the positive steps that we're taking, rather than putting more emphasis on the negatives that are going on. I think we need to do both, but it's about balance. And then business. Look, we're in business. We're in the business of growing flowers. And when we're thinking about the business of growing flowers, we need to be reflecting and thinking back on our business. What's gone well? What's gone badly? What could be done differently? What we need more of? What we want for our business as a whole, and what we want for ourselves. So looking after ourselves. And that, my friends, is a whistle-stop tour. Like, it's taken me 11 minutes to get through the Flower Farmer's Planner, and that is because I like to talk, fine, but it's also because this is 300 plus pages. It is not a diary. It is there as a business tool so that you can look back on it in the future and you can gain information from it. I'm going to turn the screen to me. So there you go. It is the second week in January, Growers Week 2, week commencing the 9th of January. And that is a tour of the Flower Farmer's Planner. It's comprehensive, it's thorough, it's there to be useful and to be helpful. It's not a gimmick, and I'm really proud of it, and I know that other people are finding it really useful. You can order your copy on our website. Our website is www.silvergreyfoliage.com. There's a link below, there's a link in our social media. The information is really easy to find on our website. There's a drop down for flower farmers, which is new. Please go take a look. Please order your copy. We do ship to the States, Australia, New Zealand, essentially all the way around the world. It takes a few weeks to get there, but I know that it's worth the wait. Thank you.